So this year we're going to talk about something a little bit different that I originally had in mind. I was asked maybe 10 times in the last 2 weeks when I was learning with our shiur that we have weekly, what is the purpose of Tisha B'Av? And on a deeper level even, why is it or how is it that someone is able to feel the actual sadness of Tisha B'Av when Tisha B'Av has nothing to do with us? If you think about it, really, Tisha B'Av is probably the most odd date of the year to have Tisha B'Av. Why? Because most people are in the middle of the summer and everything is going smooth. Most kids are in camp. Everyone's on vacation, relaxing. And in the middle of the summer, in the middle of everything going nice and beautiful, there's like this random 3 weeks where we know we can't shave. We don't go and do parties. We don't have celebrations. Everyone has to be a little bit more depressed. We don't have meat. And then we arrive at the day of Tisha B'Av, and Tisha B'Av day is probably the one that makes no sense. Because again, we sit on the floor, we read Eicha. Most people, when they read Eicha, it's very hard to connect to what it's talking about. And we know we lost the Beit HaMikdash almost 2,000 years ago. That's what we're crying about. But it really, really doesn't hit. When you think about it today in 2026, what does this have anything to do with me? And this is the question I was asked many times, is what in the world does the Beit HaMikdash being destroyed almost 2,000 years ago have anything to do with me? So this is what we're going to try to answer. And a little of a journey in an interesting way, we're going to try to bring out this idea of why are we mourning today? So first thing we have to know, every single year that we do Tisha B'Av is not because we're commemorating something that happened many years ago. It's not a commemoration period. Yes, we are sad. We know the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Nebuchadnezzar comes in. Then about a few hundred years later, come in the Romans again. And we know there were different tragedies. We have the story of Beitar. Many terrible things happen on Tisha B'Av. But in 2026 today, Tisha B'Av to us is something that is happening every single year. And the reason that we mourn and sit on the floor and we don't eat meat and we go into an extra mourning period for these 3 weeks is something that we're mourning right now. What is it all about? It's the mourning that Hashem made the decision that we weren't worthy of the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. So every single year that we sit on the floor and we mourn, we are not just mourning the fact of something that happened a long time ago, but more importantly, we are mourning the fact that Hashem made the decision to destroy the Beit HaMikdash again. So whatever mistake we had made in the past, today, right now, Am Yisrael is making the same mistake, and Hashem says, I'm not worthy of giving you the Beit HaMikdash. It's as if it was destroyed again. That's why we're mourning. Why in the world are we still sitting here? What has gone wrong that we need to fix? What are we missing here? So, first, if we think about it, why don't we just get a new location for the Beit HaMikdash? Why don't we just go somewhere in Yerushalayim, find a beautiful place? Maybe it doesn't have to be on top of where the Alaska Mosque is. We'll find somewhere else where there's no machloket, there's no problems. And we build a new beautiful Beit HaMikdash. With these days, we can have the best material, the best developers, and the best design. It would be more beautiful than anything anyone here could imagine. Why is it that we're sitting and mourning over something that happened A, many years ago, and B, something that can be rebuilt? Just rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, make the building. And what we're answering now is that a person has to realize that Beit HaMikdash is A, not a place, it is not a structure, and B, it is not something that has taken place. It is something that is happening today in the middle of July in 2026, and it's a decision that Hashem made saying that the Jews are not worthy of having the rebuilding, because the same mistake you made 2,000 years ago is the same mistake that's happening right now. So let's go back into the text and let's see what happened that started Tisha B'Av. Where did this night start from? You know, whenever they do anything to do with sports, they have a thing called the records of every single game that is played. The players and the athletes will go and sit around for hours and go and condition themselves to understand what went wrong on the tape, what decision did they make wrong that led them to make this problem to that problem. They spend hours upon hours to understand what was the reason we made such a mistake so we can improve it in the next game, so we can become better. What was the mistake that the Jews made in the middle of the desert that Hashem decided this is the night of Tisha B'Av? So we have a few good selections to choose from. Number one, we had a few weeks ago, pretty recently, we had the story of Pinchas. Pinchas comes in and he sees a man doing a terrible thing with obviously one of the women from outside the camp. And we know all the Jews were about to get cursed, and all the terrible calamity, everything that was happening to the Jews was because at that time all these things were going on, the znut that was going on in the camp. Comes along Pinchas, saves the day, takes a spear, and he takes some boat, and from there the magefa, the plague stops, everything goes back to normal. It was a terrible day, but Baruch Hashem on that day it stopped. Was that the day Hashem says we should do Tisha B'Av, the day where all the Jews were falling? No. Let's pick a better example, something that really is probably the biggest question of Tisha B'Av. Why is it that Tisha B'Av wasn't the day of the golden calf? Moshe Rabbeinu goes to Shemaim to accept the Torah. He goes upstairs, and as he's in Shemaim, he goes to accept the Torah. And what happens? Moshe Rabbeinu gets delayed. And the Jews are sitting there with all their anxiety and say, Moshe Rabbeinu is delayed up in Shemaim. He forgot about us. It's not that there was a miscalculation. He's never coming back. Everything we knew until this point was false. It was wrong. What does Hashem say? He's angry, and Hashem says, it's time to wipe you all out. Moshe Rabbeinu goes and pleads with Shemaim. He pleads to Hashem and says, Hashem, they didn't know any better. They didn't think I was coming back. They're scared. They're in a very vulnerable state. What are we supposed to do? You can't judge them. And he begs Hashem for rachamim. He begs for mercy from Hashem. What does Hashem say? You know what, Moshe Rabbeinu? I see they made a mistake on the golden calf. As much as it hurt me, they went to a different religion. I'll be mocha. What does Hashem say? Is this Tisha B'Av? No. Still another day in the wilderness. What happens next? We arrive at a very, very interesting point. The Jews come in to the brinks of entering Eretz Yisrael. They're finally there. They're sitting on the border of Yerushalayim. After traveling for months in the desert, no food, no water, the mud, the whole disaster, everything that's been going on, they finally arrive to the point they've been waiting for, entering into Eretz Yisrael. And what happens? The famous story that we know. They say, hey, like any other smart investor, any other person that's going to go into any type of partnership or any type of journey, you say, let me make an investment here. Let me do my due diligence. Let me see what's going on in the land. So they go to Moshe, they go to the leaders and say, can we please appoint the spies to go and give us an honest reporting? We've been traveling. We almost got killed so many times. We've been through so much. Can you please go there and see if this is going to be a safe place for us to go or not? And what does he say? No problem. We send the spies. The spies go into Eretz Yisrael. And what do they see? They see what it is. They see a beautiful place. But what's going on in this beautiful place that Hashem has promised them for so long? Inside, what do they see? They see giants, 20 feet tall. They see these monsters going around. They see barons. They see all these things. And they say, hey, we just left Mitzrayim. We just left someone that was trying to kill us the whole time. We finally made it out right now. And now we come into this place and this is not any better. There's giants. There's terrible calamities that are going to fall upon us. Let's pull out. It's not going to happen. And what happens? The spies come back in the camp. 10 of them give the reporting saying how awful it is and how terrible. And 2 of them say, it's going to be good. And what happens? Obviously, the Jewish people, Am Yisrael, listen to the spies, and they start to have anxiety. And they begin to panic. And they begin to freak out. And they begin to get so worried and say, oh my God, Hashem brought us out here, out of Mitzrayim, and look where He brought us to. And I'm going to read first the pasuk inside. It says, the spies come back and say, Visham ra'inu et nafalim. Listen to the words carefully. The spies come back and say, there we saw the giants. B'nei anak mina nefalim. He says we were like grasshoppers in the eyes of the giants, which we were. They were these tiny little people. Vehine be'einenu kechagavim v'chein hayinu be'eineim. We were grasshoppers in their eyes, and that's how we saw ourselves. We were little grasshoppers. And then what happens? They come back, they tell the camp, and what do they say? All of a sudden, everyone hears this terrible reporting of the Jews panicking. They begin to cry. And they begin to say, Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim in order to kill us right here at the entry of Eretz Yisrael. He came to tease us with the taste of entering Eretz Yisrael, but it wasn't going to happen. He brought us here to maybe to the promised land, but just to end us here. He wanted a better finale for us. And the Jews turn around and they start saying, wouldn't it be better if we died in Mitzrayim? Why go through all this wilderness, all this journey to arrive here and be killed in such a crazy way with these giants? Why would Hashem do this to me? And it's at that moment, I read you the Gemara inside, the Gemara in Tanin al-Chavtet says, Amar Rabba Yochanan. Says Rabba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Ota halayla leil Tisha B'Av. Oh, now we found it. What was the night that Hashem decided was Tisha B'Av? This night of the spies. This night where the Jews go into Eretz Yisrael with the spies, give an honest reporting, come back to the camp is filled with worry, Says Rav Yochanan, this is Tisha B'Av. Amar lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to them, Atem bechita b'chias shachina, va'ani kovei alachem b'chias adarim. You cried a cry that was for free. You cried a cry that shouldn't have been there. You're going to cry for generations. For 2,000 years, you're going to sit on the floor. Why? Because spies went into Mitzrayim, to Eretz Yisrael, and they saw giants, and they were scared, and the whole Am Yisrael panicked. Hashem says, Egel Azav is bad. This is going to be Tisha B'Av. This is the worst it gets. Why in the world are we making such a big deal over here? Let's think about what happened here practically. The Jews are scared. The Jews are just been through trauma after trauma. They finally enter in to the final point of the Midbar, the final rescue place of going to Eretz Yisrael. And after all they've been through, they're entering in, and what happens? They see a very scary place. There were giants there. The Jews did feel small there. All the challenges that they've been through, and now there's going to be even more. The Jews start to panic. They begin to cry. Hashem says, you're crying for nothing? Cry for generations. Why are the Jews crying for nothing? Why are the Jews crying for nothing? This is the most valid cry in the world. If lo aleinu, someone was on their way of life, and they had nothing to hold on to for so many years, and they finally come and they realize that after all their travels, this is the spot that's going to be the ending point, and they begin to freak out, and they begin to cry, they begin to feel small. Hashem says, this is a cry bechiyam. This is a free cry. You're going to cry for generations. This is the night of Tisha B'Av. How do we answer such a question? Why was it such a big deal for the Jews to cry? And how was it that Hashem would pick this day over the Egel Azav to name of Tisha B'Av, the saddest day on the Jewish calendar? So I'm going to share with you something I shared last night that really was a big part of my life. There's a place in New York, if anyone knows upstate New York at all, there's a place in New York, the most beautiful place in the world, called Camp Simcha. Camp Simcha is literally called Camp Happiness. And the camp is all about making kids happy. It's literally a camp that's all about happiness and everything. I was called there in the summer to come as one of the rabbis there to give chizuk, inspiration to the kids. I didn't know too much about the camp. I knew it was for kids that had disabilities and everything. But when I arrived on camp, ironically, I noticed pretty quickly that Camp Simcha is actually probably the saddest place that I've ever been to in my life. It's a campground in the middle of New York, and the moment I get off the bus, I see a kid that has no legs. Then I turn my head to the left, I see another kid in a wheelchair connected to IV with another handler with him. I see 3 other kids in a corner on crutches, another kid that can barely speak, doesn't even know that I'm standing in front of him. And I begin to look around and I say, what is this place, Camp Simcha, Camp Happiness? What is happy about this place? And I begin to realize Camp Simcha was a place that was instituted in order that every kid that is going through the worst things that we can imagine, every teenager, every child that's been born with a disability, whether physically or whether with their health, kids with cancer, kids with tumors, every kid should have the opportunity that for 2 weeks they should come to a place that makes them feel normal. A place where they can get anything that their heart desires. A place where we'll bring them a concert, a helicopter ride, the best food, the best drinks, unlimited Slurpees, whatever the kids could imagine, 2 weeks they should have it. And it's the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life, but at the same time, I couldn't see the Camp Simcha, I couldn't see the happiness. It was a really, really sad and hard place to be. One time I'm sitting with a group in the summer, and we start talking with the boys, and I don't even know what to tell them. Do we talk about emunah? Do we talk about tefillah? I don't understand. I don't even know where to start with these guys. So I start doing Q&A with the boys. And I tell them, I say, what do you guys want to know? So we start talking about a little bit of bitachon, we start talking about Shabbat, we start talking about, basic stuff. Then one of the boys looks at me, his name was Daniel, and he looks at me and he says, Rabbi, I want to know something. I say, what's up? He says, I want to know why we wear a kippah. I said, what do you mean? Pashut, we wear a kippah because Hashem, is in charge and we put him above us. That's why we always have a kippah on our head. And he says, can I tell you a story? I say, of course. And he begins to tell me this story. 4 days I know the boy. He tells me, Rabbi, this isn't a place where we hold things in because a lot of us don't know how long we're going to have here. He says, Rabbi, I have a really, really bad brain tumor. And he says, the doctors truthfully don't know how long I'm going to make it. This is what he's telling me in the middle of the summer. And he tells me, but I want to tell you a story, something that happened to me 3 months ago before camp, right around Pesach, before we arrived here in July. I said, what happened? He said, I'm sitting in a random hospital that they shipped me off to in Minneapolis. And I say, why Minneapolis? He said, I needed to go to a special treatment that they only had there. I had no family, I had no friends. I had no one around me. My family obviously would come visit whatever they can. They had to be with my other siblings. And he says, with this brain tumor, I had to be in this specific place. And I cannot tell you the pain and the loneliness I had sitting in the middle of this hospital ward in the middle of a random city in Minneapolis. And he says, as I'm sitting there every single day, and I wonder to myself, why would God put me here in this situation? To pump chemo in my blood every single day, and to get something at 14 years old that I don't even understand? Something that no one should have to go through. And he's telling me I'm sitting inside of this hospital, and it's a random day, and he says I'm depressed beyond, in a place that no one can ever imagine, that no one should ever think about. And he says I'm walking around, and eventually there's a Chabad rabbi that comes to visit the camp. And he hands me a kippah, and he puts it by my bed, and he said, Sadiq, I want you to wear the kippah. And he tells the kid, he says, regardless of how religious you are, you put on this kippah to realize that Hashem is always with you. And He's always watching over you. The boy says he doesn't wear the kippah, puts it on maybe once or twice. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by. One night he decides to put on the kippah, and he's walking around the hospital. And he encounters another boy there that's also there for treatment, a Christian boy, and he asked him, he says, hey, what's your treatment? What's going on? What you're going through? You know, only these kids can understand each other. And the kid asked him, the non-Jewish boy asked the boy Daniel, he says, what's on your head? And he says, what do you mean? I wear a kippah. Rabbi came to give it to me, Jewish religion. The rabbi told me Hashem is always with me. And he says, wow, God is always with you. That's incredible. He says, yeah. The boy says, after the kid asked me, I go back to my bed and I begin to think, if I'm wearing the kippah, just like the guy wants to know, why am I wearing the kippah? God is watching over me. But it's not just that God is watching over me. He tells me, Rabbi, in that moment I realized that it's not just about kippah, show me that Hashem is there, but it's so much deeper than that. It's to show me that the whole kippah is that Hashem is not watching me there, but He's the one that put me there. And if Hashem is in control and He's watching over, that's really true, then I'm not here by accident. And I'm not here for the chemo by accident. I'm not in this random hospital by accident all alone. It's because He's there with me and He wants me to be there. That's the only reason why He put me there. And he said, Rabbi, that's the only thing that got me through it. And he said, I only made it to Camp Simcha now, to come here to this camp. I never want to leave. I never want to travel. He said, I came here now because I was able to lift myself up with this, because I just kept telling myself, not only is Hashem with me, but deeper than that, Hashem is the reason I'm here. Hashem is the reason I have the cancer. Hashem wants me to be here. And if the person that creates the whole world and is in control of everything and created this whole world for a purpose, then He put this on my head to remind me every single day, every morning, that He wants me here with this challenge the way it is. And if He's the one that wants it that way, I don't understand it. It's hard, it's painful, but it's the way He wants it to be, and I keep going and I'm smiling. When I tell you guys this was the happiest kid in the whole chabur, in the whole class, I would never even think he had any sort of problem. This kid, the doctors told him, had a year to make it with the brain tumor unless they could figure something out. Baruch Hashem, I'm happy to say they figured it out and he's healthy today and I'm in touch with him. But I can tell you that from this, I answered in my own mind, what was Tisha B'Av? You see, the Jews go and do the Egel Azav. Hashem says, I'm very upset, but I'm not here to wipe you out. Why not? Because Hashem said, you chose another religion. You chose the golden calf. You gave up on Moshe Rabbeinu and me. You gave up on everything. No problem. You want to get divorced? Let's sign the papers. Divorce. Hatzachar Rabba. What can I tell you? You don't want to be with me. That's it. We'll end the marriage right here. Comes along the episode of the spies. And 10 spies go in and they're panicking, saying how they feel like grasshoppers, because that's what they were in the eyes of giants. And they tell the traumatic Jews this story. And they go out and they start having anxiety, freaking out, saying that Hashem was better off killing them in Mitzrayim. Hashem says, now it's Tisha B'Av. Why? Because Hashem says, if you want to get divorced, go get divorced. But if you want to be in a relationship with me, you want to have a marriage with me, and you don't understand what's the reason I put you in the world, then it's worse than us being divorced because there's no reason of why we're married. The reason the Jews go into Eretz Yisrael and they see spies and they turn around and say, you know what? Now Hashem came to kill us and they have anxiety and stress. What did they do? It's them saying, we forgot why you put us here. Why? Because we saw water turn into blood and we saw every single firstborn die around us and every single Jew walks out and the sea splits in half and then we see the enemy go in and the sea comes down and crushes the enemy, and every single day the man comes from Shamayim and sustains every single Jew, and the moment something challenge happens after all that, what do? We hear bad news even if it's true, and what do we say? We panic and we have anxiety and we begin to freak out even though it's valid. But we made one crucial mistake. We turned to everyone but Hashem. We did everything we could except the one thing we should. We didn't turn to the person that put us there. And this boy, sitting in the middle of a hospital in the middle of nowhere, understood something that the Jews in the middle of the desert missed, which is that we aren't here by accident, and Hashem put me here. Why? Because every single challenge that the Jews had gone through was only to bring them closer to the Creator. And when they see the report of the spies, their first reaction should have been, let me go cry out to Hashem, let me go cry out to the Creator. What are we supposed to do in this situation? Because you're with us and you put us here, you want us to be here. What is the thing that unites all Jews today? Challenge. Every Jew in the room, every Jew in LA, every Jew around the world has challenge. Everyone. That's just the way the world is. And the reason Hashem does it is for one reason only. It's because Hashem is trying to tell every single Jew that I give you a challenge as a signal in order for you to come and get closer to me, in order for you to cry out to me, in order for you to come pick yourself up and see how great that you're going to be. And when the Jews in the desert say, we feel like grasshoppers, we feel like nothing here, even though it's true, and then they say, let's have anxiety, let's have stress, let's have this, because we don't know what's going on. Hashem comes and says, you missed the whole point of Judaism. This is the whole religion. I have to destroy the Beit HaMikdash. And in 2026, when every Jew has something that hits them, or someone does something wrong to them in business, or something doesn't go well with the shidduch, or something in family with our parents, our siblings, and it doesn't go our way, and we go and we take out our phones and we scroll till 2 a.m, or we go to a therapist, or we go look at something online, or an escape, or a drink, or whatever it is, and our address is anywhere but the Ribono Shel Olam. Hashem says, you missed it. Go sit on the floor again. Go sit on the floor every single year until you fix this. Because as much as you come out there, and I keep sending you signals, and your response to the signal is anything else but connecting with me, you missed it. Because that's the whole point of this relationship. That's the whole point of this religion. It's in order for you and I to get close. So the next time I send you that guy that's a pinch here and a pinch there, it's all me trying to tell you, hey, come connect yourself to me. You can't get the shidduch you've been waiting for, come open the siddur, come talk to me. This guy went wrong in business, parnasah is not going well, this aunt or this family member, lo aleinu, is dealing with a sickness in the hospital. Let me go and cry out to my heart to Hashem. A young boy figured this out saying, if Hashem is watching over me, and Hashem is seeing me in this place, that means He wants me in this place. How do I grow through this? How do I turn myself from a grasshopper into a warrior through this? That is the only reason Hashem gave us challenges, is in order to connect through Him, in order to become like Him, in order to become great. The moment the Jews turn around and start having anxiety and frustration and say, Hashem, you brought us here to die, Hashem says, you missed it. This is Tisha B'Av. And in 2026, we're not commemorating what happened. We're guilty of the same thing. When something happens to us, who are we talking to? Who are we crying out to? Do we really, really believe it's Hashem in control, or is it the doctor? Do we really believe it's the business partner, or it's Hashem sending me the parnasah? We all have to do our ishtalut. But what is the underlying message? Who is in control? Who is the one that's running the show? That's what it's all about. You know, last time we saw a video, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, I encourage everyone to watch it, about a family, I believe it was in Muncie, that the daughter got hit by a car. The saddest thing I ever saw in my life. The saddest thing you will ever see in your life, lo aleinu. And you've seen this father speak, and he speaks with such power, with such resilience, saying a story over how his best friend, his chaburta, ran over his daughter. his prized possession, the most important thing in the world. And he sits right next to his chavruta. And not only does he tell him, I forgive you, he goes out of his way not just to forgive the guy, but what does he tell him? He says, I want you not to beat yourself up. Why? Because I need you to recognize that not only I forgive you, but it wasn't you. It's what Hashem wanted. You were just a shliach. Don't make it about you. I love you. It's all good. And they sit side by side on a couch. This is the fix of Tisha B'Av. This is everything that we're here to fix in 2026. This is what they didn't do then, which is when we go out and we feel like something is wrong, do we go and say, this guy messed me over, this guy, this happened to me, this rabbi, this, that? Or do I say, it was all Hashem, what's the signal? Let me not get stuck on the shliach. Let me not only forgive the shliach, let me see past the shliach to where it's really coming from. That's what the Jews in Mitzrayim were able, in the Midbar didn't do. Why does it say that sinat chinam is baseless hatred? If someone hates someone very much, if someone wrongs someone else, and they have hate for someone else, why do we call it baseless hatred? If someone goes out with someone, and someone does something really bad, or the marriage doesn't work out, and they're like, oh, I hate my ex-spouse, or I hate this person, they did me wrong in business, or their parents gave them a lot of trauma, or did something, or the child was very difficult, people can have really valid hatred. It should be something that we understand. Why do we call it baseless? As if it's like not allowed to have that. It's invalid hatred. And the answer is so deep. The Sfarim tell us baseless hatred. Why? Because when you hate this person, when you hate that guy, that girl, that parent, that sibling, you missed it. That was just the person that was the shliach to what's deeper. That was just the person that was trying to connect you to Hashem. You know, if you go to a park right now and you take a stick, if you smack a dog in the face with a stick and you throw the stick, the dog, what do you think it chases after? It chases the stick, not the person. Why? Because it's not smart enough, it doesn't have enough intellect to realize that the person that hit him, the one that caused him the pain was not the stick, it was the person behind it. The dog is too simple to understand, it's a fool, so what does it think? The stick is what hurts it? It chases the stick and it starts trying to beat up the stick and bite the stick. That's what the Chafetz Chaim says is the generation today. So many of us go through something and we get mad at the person. And we get frustrated, we get this, we get that, because we forget about Hashem. We forget what Hashem is trying to tell us. And this is why we say that what do we work on during the 3 weeks? Lashon hara, sinat chinam, and more importantly, jealousy. Why? Why is jealousy one of the asar tadibrot? Because jealousy means that I don't believe that Hashem is the one that really gave this person that and me to this. I was the one that's in control and he's doing better than me. And therefore I'm frustrated at that person. And therefore I give them ayin hara, I give them bad eye. Why? Because I am frustrated because I'm in control. And Hashem says that is one of the asar tadibrot, because if you're jealous of that guy or that girl got married or that person did well and they got that house and that, you're basically saying that I'm not the one deciding. It's not Hashem that's controlling the world, it's me. And as long as it's you, says Hashem, we can never connect, because you'll never understand why I put you in the world. You'll never understand why you're here. And that's why Lashon Hara is so terrible and so destructive, because Lashon Hara is saying, Hashem is saying to every single person, when you speak bad about this person, when you take your anger out on this person, you're missing the whole point of I put this person here in order to bring something out of you. And instead of you talking to me and building yourself through it, you're too busy putting it on a WhatsApp group about how terrible this person is. You're too busy judging that person that we don't even know what he went through, because it's just the way we see it. This Tisha B'Av, the fix is to understand Hashem is sending us signals. The signals come through moments, through people, through situations, through challenges we should never have. But these are the signals. Our first address is the kotel. Our first place to turn is the Sidur. If a person is doing this before he speaks Lashon Hara, before he gets jealous, before he judges someone else, you go and talk to Hashem and say, Hashem, why are you doing this to me? What are you doing this to me for? What's going on? I'm trying to get married. I'm trying to do this right. Why is this happening? Give this person refuah shelema. That's all Hashem is waiting for to hear. And how does Hashem talk back to us? Hashem talks back to us through life. If you go and sincerely pour out your heart to Hashem, Hashem will have the dialogue back with you through what happens in your life. If you sincerely go out of your way to talk to the Creator and share with Him what's going on in your life and all the pain and all the challenge, and you really go in there with emet, with honest eyes, saying, Hashem, show me the message. I know it's the signal. I'm not going to get mad at the doctor or that friend or that shadchana. I'm talking to you right now. Hashem will come and send you a signal, guaranteed. But you have to make the first step. You have to talk to Him sincerely. The job of Tisha B'Av this year is not to go out of our way just to forgive everyone else. Not to go out of our way not to judge one another. but to understand it's all Borei Olam. And this is exactly what the Jews got wrong thousands of years ago, and this is why we're still sitting on the floor. And this is what Mashiach is waiting for. He's literally at the doorstep waiting to come in, and this is what's holding him back. Because the next time something happens to someone, we go run to our phones. We run to an escape. We run to everything. We don't run to the Borei Olam. That is the tikkun of Tisha B'Av. And it was a boy in New York that was able, with chemo in his blood and a tumor in his brain, and a clock left on his life to teach us that why did Hashem put me here? Because he wants me to be here. If he wants me to be here, let me go talk to him. Let me go connect with him. Let me go transform myself from a boy in a hospital like a grasshopper and make myself great. Let me show up to this camp every day with a smile and be the best version of myself, positive and chesed that I can be, because that's why Hashem wants from me. And every single one of us go through our own Churban Beit HaMikdash, our own challenge, and ask yourself, what does Hashem want from me now? He wants me to connect, and he wants me to build myself. He wants me to do more, to give more chesed, to work on the thing that might be hard for me. That is the tikkun that I need to do. When you go to the Kotel and you see thousands of stones, it's overwhelming. What every Jew needs to realize is that every Jew is going to bring his stone to the Beit HaMikdash. One time he didn't say Lashon Hara. One time that he davened to Hashem a little more. One time he had a little bit more emunan bitachon. One time when something happened with business and he was able to be more honest because he knew it was all from Hashem. This is all from the Borei Olam. That is the tikkun of Tisha B'Av. And B'ezrat Hashem, when we fix this, Mashiach isn't going to come. Mashiach is already here. He's just waiting for us to open the door to let him inside. But it all starts with us doing this. Take a friend that we judge, we see negative this Tisha B'Av, and understand how we could see him positive. You know, it says, why is it? It says, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Why do you have to judge your friend like yourself? Why doesn't it say that you should judge your friend like your parent, or your wife, or your husband, or someone you love? Why like yourself? Why does it say, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha? It's a very interesting usage of the words. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Go love someone the way you love yourself. Why doesn't it say love him the way I love the person I love the most? My child, my spouse, my parents. The answer is so deep. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha is teaching you the deepest psychology. Why is it that a person will always give himself the benefit of the doubt? Why is it that a person, we judge ourselves, we beat ourselves up, but overall a person always says, I know I'm right, I know what I'm doing. Why? Because a person knows where he's coming from. A person knows his journey. When a person is getting judged, he says, I don't care what they say. Why? Because you don't know what I went through when I was a child. You don't know what Holocaust or what Iran or what world I had to escape to get here. So when you see me doing something that you may not approve of, you don't know what my background was, what brought me here. That's why I don't care when you judge me. How is it fair for us to go and judge other people without the same mindset? And that's what the Torah says explicitly, the words, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Judge them like yourself. When you see someone and you say they did something terrible or awful and you want to judge them negative, think about it. Maybe there's something in the story that I don't see. Maybe there's a big picture here that I don't understand. Maybe they're going through a hard time. I don't know what's going on in their business, in their marriage, with their own personal problems. I have no idea. Let me judge them favorably, because every single person is a piece of Hashem. And the next time someone comes to my Friday night table, which is probably going to happen to a lot of us, there's going to be many moments of Lashon Hara. Ask yourself, if I'm saying Lashon Hara, it's usually from one or two things. It's either because I'm jealous of this person and I want to put them down and make myself feel better. I want to put myself on a pedestal. So why is that jealousy coming? Because I feel like I want to put this person down because I feel in control and I'm in a rat race with this person. Or number two, because I want this person, I see them succeeding out of jealousy, but even deeper than that, I see another Jew and I want to bring them down. I want to bring them down. This is the worst thing that we need to fix. And it happens all the time. We bring others down and we do it because of baseless hatred. If you want to fix this Tisha B'Av, you want to bring your stone to the Beit HaMikdash, tell yourself, I'm not here to be jealous of a person because I know it's what Hashem gave him, and I'm not here to be angry at this person because Hashem is sending him as the signal. This is just the signal that Hashem is sending. I'm just going to end off with one last story that really ties the idea together. There was once a true story of a guy leaving Yerushalayim, and as he's leaving Yerushalayim, they come to him, and he's going to Ben Gurion Airport, and his Talmidim come to him and they say, Rabbi, how do you want to get there? Should we get you a ride to the airport. We don't want you to get the train. Should we drive you, whatever? He says, no, I'm not taking the train. Don't worry about it for, Shmir Tanaim. I'm going to get a cab. Don't worry about it. We'll get a cab. So he's in the middle of Yerushalayim, and he flags down a cab driver. And where's the cab driver from? The cab driver is from Tel Aviv. And the guy's a bald Israeli guy, gets in the car, not religious, necklaces, the whole shebang. And he opens up the taxi, and he sees the rabbi come in with his hat and everything. He goes, okay, Chazak B'Av, let's go. He says, Ben Gurion. He says, great, on my way home, no problem. So the guy goes, thank you so much for taking me to the airport, the rabbi says. And the guy goes, okay, Chazak B'Av, of course, I'm a cab driver, that's what I do. And the guy says, thank you for going to the airport. I'm going home. I live in Tel Aviv. And he's like, it's on my way home. It worked out very nice. And he says, you're mamash my brother for taking me to the airport. You're really like a brother. And the guy says to him, he says, listen, I'm a cab driver. It's my job. Like, you're going to pay me at the end. Like, it's very nice. Like, but he's like, I'm in Tel Aviv. You're in Yerushalayim. Like, don't get all excited. And the rabbi, with a big smile, turns to the cab driver and he says, no, I'm not saying it because you're taking me to the airport. He says, I want you to understand, you're literally my brother. You're my ach. You and I are brothers. And he says, why do you keep saying that you and I are brothers? He says, I'm in Tel Aviv. I'm not religious, dude. He says, you're a rabbi. You have Talmidim walking you to the taxi. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Every single day, you and I are fighting in the middle of Kfi Shachar, if we're going to the army or not. You and I are the farthest thing for brothers. What are you talking about? And the guy goes, can I tell you a story? He goes, okay, yeah, we have 20 minutes till we arrive. Tell me a story.
I didn't get that.
He says, sorry, Siri wants to be part of the shir. He says, my father was in the Holocaust, the rabbi says. And he said, my father said that someone taught him that you and I are brothers. He said, how would your father teach you that? You and I didn't even know each other. This was 30 years ago, 40 years in the Shoah. What are you talking about? So he says to him, no, let me explain to you. Again, this happened many years ago. He says to him, when the Nazis came around and Adolf Hitler instructs all the Nazis and all the soldiers to kill every single Jew one by one, he says he didn't go there saying, who's Dati Leumi, who's Faradi, who's Hasidish, who is Payas, who's Ashkenazi, who's modern Orthodox. He says every single one of them, I want numbers and I want them in the gas chamber. Every single one of them. You know why? Because it doesn't matter what they were wearing on the outside, if it was a white shirt, if it was a blue shirt, if it was peyot, if it was kippah, if it was no kippah. He says Adolf Hitler taught every Jew that he wanted to kill every single one of us. Why? Because the Jew is a Jew. He looks at the Israeli cab driver and he says, Adolf Hitler taught me that you and I are brothers. Because when he came to kill us, there was no differentiation who's who. We were all the same. How can we go around the world and hate our own brothers and talk bad about other Jews that have different ideas and speak Lashon Hara to someone that has a different opinion than me, that's someone that I don't respect, someone I can't see eye to eye with, and I could talk bad on my own nation? Why? And Adolf Hitler, the person that's responsible for killing millions of Jews, taught us that we're all the same. The next time you see a Jew, remind yourself, this is part of my tribe. When we go up together. When we go down, we all go down together. When the Beit HaMikdash comes back, it only happens if we're all there together. So instead of me pushing this guy away and this guy and going to this shul and this guy's like this and judging everyone for being different than me, let me go out of my way to bring every single person together, because that's the way we bring back the Beit HaMikdash. And I'll leave you with one last thought. One of my students tells me recently, he says, I missed October 7th. I said, what are you saying? You missed October 7th, the worst day of the year. What are you talking about? He says, Rabbi, I know it sounds awful and it should never happen again, but he says, you know what we had for the first year of October 7th? He said, until the hostages started coming back, he said, you know what? Every single Jew was the same. Every single Jew was the same for 1 year. And I looked at him and I said, you couldn't be more on the target. Every single Jew, if you walk into a restaurant in the middle of Miami or New York or this, or you go into a random shul, you could be Hasidish, you could be not religious, you could be that. Every single Jew realized that the whole world is out to get us and we're all one unit. And it's so easy how that mindset could slip away from us. And we should never have such a thing happen to us again. We should realize on our own that every single Jew is needed to bring back to Beit HaMikdash. And every single time something challenges happen to me, it's just a shliach, it's a signal from Hashem in order for me to connect, in order for me to build myself. So the next time I feel like a grasshopper, I feel like a warrior, knowing Hashem is the one that put this on my head, and He's the one that